fight. We don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no, we don't have to...
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Just Chill with Oliver George. This is episode 64, and I have some musical friends across from me. But before we get into it, I want to remind you, if you're watching on YouTube right now and you would prefer audio only, you can get that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many places like that. Whew, out of breath. If you are listening on one of those right now, though, you can switch over to YouTube and check out the visual version. I would appreciate it if you could subscribe while you're here. That would mean a lot to me. If you want to contact the show, maybe you've got a cool guest idea or some general feedback, you can hit me up at justchillpodcasting@gmail.com. While you're doing that, let me know if you want one of these stickers, and I'll mail you one. Back to the guests. I'm really excited to have you guys here, and thank you so much for spending your time with me. It's Jason Lam and Juan Miguel Gomez.
Yep.
Ottawa musicians, multi-talented dudes. And you guys are part of a band, or 2/5 of the Good Guys.
Yes, we are.
Amongst other bands that you guys are parts of.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
So this is how I came into contact with you guys, though. I feel like I should let you guys say a little bit more about the band. Let's give a little bit of info. You guys are jazz fusion, right?
Yeah, I mean...
and funk and...
Yeah, and funk and Latin and rock and yeah, pretty much every other genre that you can think of. Yeah, I mean, The Good Guys is a project that that started maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. Like it's been on for a while, but it wasn't really anything until very recently, actually. Like me and the drummer of the band, Alex, started playing in this other project, and as a side hustle, we kind of wanted to start doing something that we really enjoyed more. You know, like we're all professional musicians and we all play music for a living, but sometimes we actually wanted to play music just to play cool music.
So it was more of like a jam band for a while.
Yeah. So it was more like, we'll get together like every, couple months and play these songs. And we were like, okay, well, let's get more people into this. And then, we were looking for a bassist, and then we got Jason, and then for a while it was just me, Jason, and Alex, and we will get together like every couple months and jam a couple tunes and whatnot. And then we wanted to put a saxophone player in it just for fun, and then we got Zach, and then the last one to get in was Scott on keyboard as well, and that was probably like a couple months before the pandemic started.
Oh, okay.
So that's when the band actually kind of came together as a real band. You know, like we actually came to existence like right before the pandemic, and we said, okay, we're an actual band, and we want to record music, and we want to play shows and all these things. And then we started working on an album, and then pretty much finished the album, and suddenly COVID happened. So that kind of like put a hold on everything for the band for a year or so. And
right when you guys were about to kind of
exactly came out of the shell a little bit, and we had to stop for a year. And then I guess at the beginning of this year we were okay, no matter what happens this year, we're gonna just announce that we actually exist, and show up the album, and that's where we are right now, basically. Yeah.
Awesome. And you guys just had a physical pre-release.
Yeah, we had a pre-release of our album at Live on Elgin a couple of weeks ago. That went great. I think it went high above our expectations, and nice. It was a little bit of a letdown because when we first scheduled that show, we were hoping that the restrictions will be like better by then, but they're still not. So
it was like 30 people cap or something.
Yeah, exactly. So for spaces like that, we can only have 30 people. And we were hoping to have like 70 or like 100 people in there. Yeah. But we were not able to have more than 30 or 35, I think it was.
Yeah, that's Yuck Yuck's temporary location right now as of for another week until they move to the next spot that they're going to. Yeah. So I did a show there as well, and it's, a very small crowd size.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's, well, I'll take what we can,
Yeah, for sure.
It's good to say that we sold out the show.
Yeah, exactly. Like the good thing about that was that in less than 2 days it was sold out, right? Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's a benefit of that we were able to put the sold out sign 2 days after we announced it, you know. But,
I think people are starting to catch on at this point in the pandemic that sold out doesn't mean what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we're still using it. Why not?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's good marketing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to go on a big rant before you guys said something about the band, but I ran into you guys because I was just in this neighborhood walking my dogs. And I guess it was in the afternoon or sort of close to dinner time. Yeah. And I kept hearing this bass line music kind of off in the distance. But you know that live music has a sort of distinct sound to it. I thought I could recognize a regular drum set sound. And I'm walking around. And, you know, as I went up with my dog walk, it would get louder or quieter. And I finally got near the park. Yeah. And I was convinced that this house right sort of adjacent to the park must just have a really killer sound system because I hadn't yet heard any like applause breaks. Okay. And there was no vocals. So I just thought, okay, this is just some crazy guy's like backyard stereo setup. And then finally I heard people cheering to what must have been the last song. Oh, and then I crossed through this little hole in the fence and went over the train tracks and shit. And I come out and I see you guys playing this backyard show, which reminded me of Sublime. I've always been a big Sublime fan, and they always did all these shows, you know, at backyard parties and shit like that. So I was instantly drawn in, and at that point, you guys were just sort of saying your hellos and introducing yourself to people. So I thought, yo, let's interview these guys because you sounded so tight. And then I heard it was your first show, and I was, you know. Yeah. It makes a little more sense now. I know that all your credentials. It's not like it was your first band ever or something.
No, not at all. It was just our first ever presentation in front of people that was not, you know, us or like our couples or whatever. Yeah. As a band, as the good guys, but I mean,
it was a good turnout though.
It was great.
Fun, yeah, nice crowd of people.
Sure,
so was it in fact the last song that we played?
I think so. Yeah, because I kind of heard it. I'm like, oh, it is real. And as soon as I got over, you guys were wrapping up. I spoke to your keyboardist first.
Oh, okay,
Scotty, right?
Scotty, yeah.
And I gave him my card or just told him to look me up or something, and thankfully you guys got in contact because I'm really looking forward to talking to you guys now that I've learned more about you. I wanted to know though if you guys, this is just a fun question, if you had any interest in ever experimenting with bringing a vocalist into the mix.
We were talking about that actually.
Yeah, we've talked about it like many times actually, and I think it's part of our plans for the near future to keep like doing the music as we do, because we play in so many other projects that they all have like singers in them that I find very cool to have doing like instrumental music, you know. It's just like
nice change of pace.
It's more about the musicians, you know, instead of being about the singers. But at the same time, we find very cool the idea of having guests as much as we can.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, so like we are thinking on doing like, you know, like whatever song featuring this singer, you know, whatever, like or featuring this saxophone player. I don't know.
Because then you're not tied down to that vocalist, but you can still have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of on the plans right now. It's just we just haven't like actually figured something out as of yet, because like we say, this is not our only project, right? We all have like so many things going on, so it's hard to organize with all these things, but it will come to happen for sure.
It would be fun to get experimental.
Yeah.
Well, I actually wanted to ask you guys, when it comes to writing an instrumental album, it must be an interesting thing to do, because a lot of people, when they approach writing an album, they might have a overarching theme, and it's a lot of the time based in the lyrical content to some degree. So when you go to write an instrumental album, like where do you start? What kind of a flow do you follow to say, oh yeah, now we're done? Or you know what I mean? Does that make sense, the question?
Yeah, no, it totally does.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess I'll take this one too.
Go for it.
I mean, I've it's not only me, but I have been the main writer of the music for this project, because it really came to be because I had these songs in my head that were like, I mean, you can say that they're jazz songs, but they're like just like this fusion of many things. And I wanted to play them, and then I was like, that's why we actually started doing this project, because I was looking for people to play this music that I had in my head, right?
Oh, crazy.
And then we just started jamming, and like thanks to these guys, like all this music became what it is today. It's like without them, it wouldn't be what it is, right?
Yeah.
So they're definitely like co-writers and stuff. And for some of these songs, like Jason and Alex and Scott, they all put like key parts in these songs that made them theirs as well. But for me particularly, in the songs that I wrote by myself, without their implication, it was more of a thing of I don't know, like I would write a song. For example, one of the most important songs in the album that is called Fantasmas de Korea.
Okay.
I wrote it right on the night of Halloween before the pandemic started, so I guess that will be like 2019 Halloween.
Yeah.
Like it was like a spooky night, and I was just dabbling up on my guitar, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna like write a song that I don't know, like it's jazzy, but it's kind of spooky because we're in a spooky time,
cool.
And I had like this idea of like doing something like kind of like Latin-y, but I wanted to do something very like dark and mysterious as well.
Nice.
So that's how that song kind of became that, And then it's more like I just like figure out all the bass for that and all like everything that what's gonna be like the core of that song. And then basically I just bring it to the table with the guys. Like we get together to jam, and it's like, hey guys, like I've been working on this, and then
That's
just
cool.
like put it all together,
Yeah, because I would think I play music sometimes, and I would think without lyrics, I would have a lot harder time, especially if it was like a really long song. Because I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of musician you are. Some people are maybe more just on the melody and the instrumental side of it, but to me, I feel like you remember the hook of the chorus or something that helps me remember, oh, well, that chord goes with this part that I sing, or
Yeah.
I guess it's to each their own, really. But
yeah, and jazz music particularly, it's is very like, I mean, all music is divided like that, but in jazz you have to really make like a division of that on what is harmony and what is melody, So as long as you can kind of like separate those two parts and write some sort of chart for both of them, like a chart for the harmony and a chart for the melody. So you can just literally give papers to everyone and say, okay, this is what we're gonna be basing ourselves upon, and then let's just create on top of that, and then people just do that, right?
Well, that's the interesting thing about jazz, is that when you see jazz players, they seem like almost mathematical, especially jazz drummers. They're so succinct in what they're doing, and yet there's an overlay on top of that of just abstract, like go with the flowness that you wouldn't think would mesh with such a mathematic way of approaching music.
That's it.
That's what makes it really special. I guess.
It's I mean, jazz is it's like the class. I find it as a classical music of modern music. It's like it requires so much skill and understanding in so many levels, like physically and mentally.
Yeah, definitely.
That like more than any other genre for sure. And that has like its like pros and cons as well, but yeah, it's just a different completely approach to writing a rock song or a pop song, and instrumentally it just makes a lot more sense to write jazz than to write instrumental pop.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear that many of your guys' songs, but I would have always said funk has to be in the title.
Of course,
you guys are very, very funky.
Thanks,
man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I that is a compliment for sure.
Yeah, I'm very proud of this album. Some of the songs are like the one we were just talking about, the Fantasmas one, is like 11 minutes long.
Oh
Yeah.
wow,
11 minutes long, and to keep people's
Attention.
that it takes a lot of careful writing, and calculative. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you say keep people's attention, because I think that's another benefit to instrumentals, is that you can kind of go either way with it. You can immerse yourself, shut off all the lights, and really like listen to every note, or you can put it on in the background and still,
that's it. Yeah.
have people over and still have a nice, pleasant atmosphere.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my grandparents played in a jazz band.
Oh,
So I had a lot of exposure to jazz when I was young. I don't think I appreciated it as much as I should have, but my grandpa, he's 97 now. He's still out there playing piano.
Oh, that's amazing.
I don't know if he does it as much. My dad might know more.
Okay.
Can he still play?
He can still play, but it's a lot harder for him now than it used to be.
Yeah.
Wow.
He doesn't play as much, which
kidding.
is sad. Yeah.
But I thought I heard you guys saying something along the lines that his memory for piano is almost better than his actual memory for day-to-day shit, right? Or is that something you guys had mentioned?
Well, he can certainly sit down and play the tunes he always played. I think it's like most of us as we age, things from our youth we tend to retain with great clarity. Things that we did yesterday, not so much.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, that's what I was wondering is, was it at his age, is it a physical thing? A physical,
True, yeah.
Or is it a
Arthritis
mental?
or something, yeah.
It's a little bit of both in his
bit, yeah.
particular case. Yeah.
And my grandma passed, I guess 2012 it was, or 2013? Might have been 2013. Anyways, but she was a banjo player, and they had this band,
amazing.
and everyone would always jam at their place. So
Amazing.
a bunch of
That's
retirees and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
So,
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. I wanted to talk to you guys about being full-time musicians and the impact of COVID. Like, I know everyone's sick of hearing about COVID, but I think that it really, really is a unique situation to be in when you're doing gig work to pay your bills, and then all of a sudden, boom. Same with comedians,
Yeah,
they're full-time
of course.
comedians and stuff. But how ridiculously challenging was that for you guys?
The industry was decimated, as you probably know as a comedian, right?
I mean, I'm more of a casual comedian. I don't do it for money very often.
Oh,
No one
okay.
wants to pay
Right.
me.
Yeah, it was tough, but there was always good things that came out of it. Like I have a little 3-year-old, and so we took her out of daycare, and so I became a full-time dad. You know,
Nice.
and
Hey, same
yeah,
here, man.
yeah, it's awesome. So it was fortunate that my wife still kept her job and she works from home now. But
Awesome.
in terms of the music, it was done. Like I did a couple of gigs during COVID, but that was it.
It must
Yeah.
have been, like a real shocker.
It was,
because it was
yeah.
so
Oh,
rough.
Yeah.
It was pretty rough. Yeah.
And you were in a similar situation then?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little bit different for me because I am a full-time musician, but my main gig is actually a studio gig.
True.
Right?
I did have that here, yeah.
I have a recording studio. I've had a recording studio for about like 3 years now.
Cool.
And which I worked in recording studios for like almost 10 years, but like 3 years ago I decided to go on my own and have my own place in my house, you know.
Yep.
And I've been doing that as a full-time thing for the past 3 years. And yeah, when COVID happened, it was terrible for live music for sure. Like everything that was all my live musician gigs and sound technician gigs kind of like completely fell apart, you know.
Yeah.
And the studio stuff obviously was terrible. Like the in-person studio stuff was terrible because like no one would be even allowed to go to your studio to record,
Start
right?
singing
and
and-
start
yeah,
singing and
spreading.
doing all these things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So of course that was terrible as well. But nonetheless, like I was very fortunate that I had enough work remotely for my studio that actually worked out for me. Like it turned out that I had a couple of clients that had like a bunch of music that they needed to like develop or mix or
and
master
stuff.
or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
you know.
You must
So-
have had an influx of musicians who all of a sudden can
Yeah.
play gigs, and they're like,
Exactly. So I was working with people from Toronto. I was working with people from Montreal, from Alberta, like stuff that were just sending me, and then we'll have like this, and we still have this like long ass meetings on Zoom and whatever, and then I run my whole session through you know Zoom and video, and I have a plugin on the computer that I can actually stream the audio live from my computer to their computer. So it's kind of like, you know, if they have headphones, it's kind of like they're in the studio still because they're hearing
Yeah.
everything as I'm doing it live, you know?
yeah.
So, yeah, like people couldn't be there like playing guitar, you know, but at the same time they can be there in the session as if
It's the next
they were
best
there.
thing. Yeah.
The next best thing, right?
Yeah.
So, happily for me that was a good situation. So I didn't really like struggle to find work, but I did see, you know, everyone around me that was not me, you know, that like all my friends that live and made their music, they're living out of like live music, like for example Jason, right?
Yeah.
And it was terrible, man. Like it's there was just nothing, you know, like it's like
And then you're like trying to relate, but you kind of have your side thing where you're like, I'm actually okay, guys.
So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, I was very fortunate, and my wife is is a nurse, so she obviously had a lot of work. And
Same
this
here.
time.
I was going to say my fiance is a nurse as well.
Exactly. So we actually never stopped, but it was hard for me to see everyone around me just like struggling and like finding like a solution to their life. So yeah, it was rough for sure.
Yeah, well, I should point out then that you have a bachelor in music production and a master's in advanced audio engineering.
Yeah.
I have a diploma in audio recording, and I don't remember shit from 2005.
Nice.
Well, there you go.
Well, it is an industry that if you don't use it, you lose it, right? Because
of course,
it's ever evolving.
And I think, I mean, it's cool to have these diplomas. It looks nice and it looks nice on paper.
I had
for
to
sure.
dig mine out from like this shit.
I know, but I don't think it's. I mean, I enjoyed it and I learned so much from those courses. But at the same time, I think it's probably in this business is one of the businesses where it matters the least. It's at the end of the day, it's really all about the skills and can you make it sound good? Does it work? Are you like efficient? Are you fast? Are you like all these things? Like nobody's ever gonna ask you like, can I see your degree?
Yeah.
Like nobody cares about that.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
a good point.
So it's a cool thing to have, and it's a cool thing to, I guess, like show to people and make them understand that you're serious and you're a pro.
Professional, yeah.
But other than that, I think it's as far as it takes you, basically.
Yeah, because you can have a lot of fields where people are certified up the wazoo,
Of course.
but they can't actually do their
Yeah,
job
you can't
properly.
do it. Exactly.
And well, the technology is always changing too. Like all this stuff that you have in here, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to use any of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Super user friendly,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But
Yeah.
it makes life easier, and
Well, and you have to find what works for you. Like our setup, we changed because our previous setup was just giving us too many issues, and
Right.
a lot of it's troubleshooting and
Yeah.
adapting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I actually wanted to ask about your studio though. If you had any analog equipment that you liked to record on.
Yeah, I use a couple of analog preamps that I love. Like I've in my experience, I've tried like when it comes to analog gear, you can just go down the rabbit hole because in gear in general, like there's just never enough.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can just go and spend and never stop. Right. And particularly for the recording world, it's just like there's so much stuff. Right. It's like the microphones, the cables, the preamps, the board, the compressors, the equalizers. It's like it just never stops, right? And every single of them give you a different tone and a different feel, and like
And a lot of the analog is like super expensive because it's vintage or whatever.
Exactly. But I think my take on all that is that all analog things are very cool and very sweet to have. But it's at this day and time, like the technology is so advanced, that it's like the difference between like the 108 compressor on a plugin to the 108 compressor on an analog thing is like so minimal that it's just not worth the expense. Like it's unless you're like having just so much money that you don't know what to do with it,
Well, and you're wasting a lot of time probably.
Yeah,
because a lot of the
exactly.
digital stuff is
Right.
because also that's the other thing. Analog stuff is non-reversible, right? So if you commit to using the 187 compressor, and then for some sort you don't want it anymore, then you're screwed because that was that. Whereas if you're using digital technology, you can just change it and that's fine.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I find that it's is really important and that I commit to is a good preamplifier because that's something that you can't emulate digitally.
Yeah.
So I have like a couple of fancy preamps that I use to record, but everything else that I use is mostly digital, like compressors, plugins, all that stuff. It's all digital.
So when I went to that course, which was only a year, it was around 2004. So I guess there was still some more. I remember very distinctly learning the analog machines, and then the other studio had like the newer digital stuff. But I guess it's probably gonna keep phasing out. Upstairs somewhere, I have this purple tape that looks like a VHS, but it's like an ADAT tape or something like that.
ADAT.
Okay, yeah.
So the technology is.
It's cool too. I find that those things are more for, fun for the engineer to do, but they're just pointless.
Yeah, it's
like,
just geeking out on it a bit.
yeah, it's cool to
Yeah.
like record on tape, for example, right? It's like I've done it a couple of times, and it's just so cool. You know, it looks so cool, it sounds so distinctive, it's amazing. But then you realize that, you know, like digital is here for a reason because it's just so much better, faster, reliable, like all these
Economical,
things.
yeah.
So it's like it's fun, but it's just about the experience and nothing else. You know.
I should say, if you want to plug your studio, if people can come in.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, my studio is called Zorro Studios, like Zorro, like the the guy of the Zorro.
Yeah.
Zorro Studios, and yeah, it's on the Quebec side.
Okay.
And it's we just moved there to a new location a year ago. It's up in the mountains.
Oh, sweet.
So it's
Beautiful. Beautiful
yeah,
spot.
it's
Is
a
it still
really
in your
nice
home,
spot.
the new-
Yeah, it's
Okay.
still in my home, but we were able to find like a really nice space, really big space up in the mountains, and in the middle of the forest. So it's very nice.
Cool.
It's a little bit of a drive, but it's not the end of the world. Like from downtown Ottawa is like about 30 minutes.
Oh,
you know?
whatever. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, most of the
If it's
people
got a
that
good
go
atmosphere
there,
and-
Yeah.
exactly. Most of the people that go there, they don't go for 45 minutes. They go for 6 hours or 8 hours, right? So like, you know, it's worth a little trek up there, and then you spend the whole day and you're in the nature. You know, you're you're just having a good time.
That sounds awesome. And
So,
well,
yeah,
you seem very qualified as well.
It's almost like a wellness center too.
Yeah, no, seriously. I have some people that literally, you know, we're in the middle of the session and we go take a break and then
Go
you know,
for a
go
swim.
out,
Meditate
Yeah,
for a-
you can go out for a swim in the pool. You
Yeah.
can go out like you know,
that's
just
cool.
like eat lunch, and you know, like you're literally in the middle of the trees in the forest. Some
for a
people go in
hike.
the forest for a little hike and they bring the guitar. You know,
Damn,
so
I might have to come record here, man. Really, I've got some comedy songs I've been meaning to put down.
Oh, yeah,
These
well-
aren't really meant for music. These are
Right.
pretty for podcasts.
of course,
and
of
stuff.
course. Yeah, we'd love to have
Yeah.
you there for sure, man.
Right on. I want to switch to some solo projects.
Yeah.
And also give Jason a chance here to
Yeah.
share a little bit. No, because I was really interested in some of the projects I found out that you were doing.
Okay.
I want to talk first about your father and daughter duo.
Oh, geez.
Because I have I do my research, man.
That's awesome.
Your daughter, I don't know if you don't want me to say her name, I
no.
won't, but Ella is your
yeah.
daughter.
Yeah.
And my daughter also likes to sing, and so
Okay.
I tugged on the heartstrings a
How
little
old's your
bit.
daughter?
She just turned 11 yesterday.
Oh, great.
So,
That's
but
the-
she's got a great voice, and your daughter, wow, she's got an
thanks.
amazing voice, man, like
Yeah.
a natural.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's amazing working with her. Like she's a one-take wonder in the studio. Like
Yeah, she seems like
sings at
auto
once, yeah.
pitch, everything
yeah,
is
yeah.
perfect.
There's
yeah.
no auto correct.
And these are
on it.
songs
Yeah.
that you've introduced her to for
Yeah,
the most part, like Foo Fighters. I
The
saw.
Foo Fighters, like what you call it? We did 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh,
like
cool. I
all
didn't
these
see that
songs
one.
that I grew up with. You know that was part of my playlist back in the day in high school. I got her to sing it, and she loves the song. She loves every song that we do.
And she puts her own spin on it.
She kind of does, yeah. Yeah, she does.
And you're doing these nice acoustic breakdowns.
That's it,
and
yeah, yeah.
That's really cool stuff. You guys were featured in Faces magazine,
We were.
Ottawa's own.
Yeah, they got a hold of us. That was during COVID because we were doing a lot of these duos because I had no work, right? So I needed to get my
Music out, yeah.
my music out. So I started this thing with my daughter, and it kind of blew up. And so then they asked us to do an interview, and they pampered us.
It was a great photo of you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
Really
yeah.
cool. I saw the magazine article too. And right above you guys was John Doerr, who's also been on this show.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh, that's cool.
I should have brought you a
Coincidence.
magazine then. Damn.
Yeah.
I'll get it to you next time.
Hey man, yeah, I would put it
Yeah.
up on the walls or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did have. I wanted to mention too one song that you guys did together. I just thought it was cool that your son was keeping beat with a basketball.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was just
Yeah.
dribbling the ball, and it sounded perfect. But you had a musical family growing up, right?
Yes,
and your
I did,
parents
yeah.
were from Mauritius, which was a country I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know it existed.
Okay. Did you look it up or?
I did. I learned a little bit about like
Mm-hmm.
sort of in the Indian Ocean off the right-hand coast of Africa, lower
Madagascar,
half.
yeah.
And the music I wanted to ask you about specifically, though, Sega.
Yeah.
Because at first I read Sega music, and I'm like, oh, he grew up like listening to the Sonic the Hedgehog.
yeah.
Sega music.
Yeah,
And then I'm like,
no.
oh shit, it's this whole other thing.
Yeah,
Again, I'm
no.
an uninformed white dude, I guess. But
Well, no, not many people have heard of Sega. It's there's variations of it. There's Sega, which is like reggae.
Yes, I
and
read that as well,
So
yeah.
there's Sega is more of a unique to Mauritius. It's a very dancey kind of music that can only be described if you listen to it. Like it's Caribbean music, kind of.
okay.
Yeah,
Danceable though.
very danceable. There's
Yeah.
the Sega is actually also a dance. that
Cool.
that mostly I guess women do with these big dresses and they wave them around.
Well, I read,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but that the Sega music had a big part in, it even said exorcisms they would do it.
I didn't know that.
But ceremonies and stuff, and that it was
Okay.
looked down upon by a lot of people because it was the music of the slaves.
Yes,
and the enslaved and all
Okay.
that. So that's
That-
where it was rooted, I guess. But
Yes, so the Mauritius is a multicultural country. It's I'm guessing at numbers here, but it's a lot of Indian people from India, a lot of people from the Arab countries, and then Chinese, and then there's from Africa, right?
wow,
And so, but even before that, I don't know if they were slaves, but there were people of Mauritius who they're called the Creole people.
okay. Creole. That's
Creole is the language.
Is it the same as you hear in like Louisiana and stuff?
Similar, but it's got its own dialect.
There's a connection there somewhere?
Like people from Louisiana or Haiti, they all
Yes.
speak Creole, but
Yeah.
it's a different kind of Creole. But we can kind of understand each other, but not
Interesting.
totally. Yeah.
Wow.
So I grew up speaking Creole, so as you can see, I'm Chinese, but I don't speak Chinese. We don't really have the Chinese culture, but
Yeah.
we do eat Chinese food, but mostly there's a lot of
I do
Indian
too.
food.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of Indian food, and where was I going with that? Yeah, so the Mauritius, like I said, is just a big melting pot of culture.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But is it a big geographical location? Not so much.
No, it's a tiny little booger on the globe. Really, like if you saw it on a map, you'll miss it.
Okay.
Like you can drive around the country in 4 hours, basically. Yeah.
Wow. So sort of like Jamaica, I guess, is about
Yeah,
that
yeah,
size. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Crazy, man. That's super cool. I wanted to know then, my next question regarding your family and music with your daughter. Here's a scenario, okay?
Okay.
She just graduates high school and then she says, I'm going on tour with my band. Are
Yeah.
you like, yeah, rock on? Or are you like, you should get some college, secondary school experience? What's the father mind go there?
Chase your dreams. Do
Okay,
that
okay.
first, and then after you can try, getting the academic education. But it doesn't matter which way you do it, right?
Yeah,
Like if she
true.
wants to, like I believe in her, and I believe in her skill and her her smartness, intelligence, and so either way, if she wants to go on tour, then go for it. And I hope I'm part of it. I hope she asks me to do it.
Right on, yeah. No, you guys had a good vibe together
Yeah.
when you were performing, definitely.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Okay, well, this one I can kind of give to both you guys.
Okay.
I wanted to ask about best and worst tour or festival experiences. And I wanted to say before you guys reply, just some of your credentials again, because you've done Jazz Fest, Blues Fest, Folk Fest, like all the fests in Montreal as well, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And you've toured China and Cuba, and there was another country
Australia.
Australia, thank you. 1,500 shows you've played.
Yeah.
So you guys must have some amazing experiences and some trash experiences.
Some trash experience,
You can give
yeah.
me just like one of each.
Yeah, I can start if you want.
Yeah, go ahead. I have to think about it.
Yeah. Find a good
Back
one.
in
yeah.
about the year 2000, we were my old band from Ottawa here, Seismic. We were asked to go to New Brunswick for a festival. Okay, so we drove. I don't know what it was, like 12 hours. Got in the van, packed it all up, drove to New Brunswick, and found out that the show wasn't even happening. It was just an empty stage. And so what did we do? So we decided to just camp there, and we made the best of it. But that was
Oh, you guys didn't set up and just jam outside or something?
Yeah, no, that didn't happen.
That would've
No.
been Man, that would have been
Yeah.
so cool if you could have got like a
funny.
show to just come to you.
Yeah, no, they
How long of a drive is that?
it was about 12 hours or something like that. Yeah,
Ouch.
to New Brunswick, and
That's pretty bad.
yeah, and then to find out only that there was an empty stage, nothing was going on, and the organizer didn't even to call us, to let us
What was
know.
the explanation?
There was nothing. They just said it just didn't happen.
changed our
Yeah,
mind, like-
Yeah, and they didn't pay us nothing. So
Oh my god.
Not even the gas.
yeah,
Brutal.
nothing. Yeah,
That's why you ask in advance.
yeah. We even bought a van for that reason to
Oh my god.
to
man,
drive
that
out there.
sucks.
Oh my god. Well, you learn from the
Tragic,
experience, eh?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's
Totally.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like, geez, I don't know. Like, there's been so many of them. Like, so many good ones, and unfortunately, very bad ones as well. I mean, it's hard, but the first one that comes to my mind right now, it's I mean, I guess it's just the most disappointing one is like I guess it's kind of like the same thing. We were doing a tour thing. I was playing with the Peptides, and we were touring the East Coast, and we got to this show in Prince Edward Island, yeah, and again, it's a trek to go all the way there for sure.
Definitely.
And
you gotta take a ferry to get to Prince Edward Island.
yeah. Take a ferry, and there's just not too much going on there, and you know, like we play the show, and one of the best places to play in PI, which is like there's not that many to begin with, you know, and I guess one of the like we did like we prepared this whole concert, you know, like 3 sets, you know, 45 minutes each, like. And we arrived on time. We did the soundcheck, whatever, and we play the show. And you know, comes the time of the show. The show did happen, but we played, I guess, for like I think the whole night there was like maybe 1 or 2 people. You know.
Oh,
so
brutal.
we played like 3 hours of music for 1 or 2 people, and then we, you know, probably made like less than $50 or something, like tops.
Well, that's like a spirit crushing moment.
Yeah, it was like a spirit crushing thing. It was like, I mean, we were already kind of there, you know, playing the East Coast, like a bunch of other gigs, and some other gigs from that tour were amazing. You know, we had like an amazing turnout. No, it was great. Like the experience was great, and the traveling was great. It's just like, you know, going to these gigs where literally you prepare all this thing, and it's just like you're just playing basically for yourselves, you know. But if it happens in your hometown, it's soul crushing. But at the same time, at least you're, you know, in your house.
You can just go home.
You go home and then you lick your wounds, you know. But in there, you know, you're in the middle of the road, and you're like already drove 7 hours to go play a show for like 2 people, you know.
Yeah.
It's that kind of sucky. But
you must have had some experiences where you've played a place with maybe not 2 people, but a small audience, and then you come back to the venue in the future at some point, and they've told their friends. And
of course.
It's not uncommon to be on tour and play to tables and chairs.
or the cocktail waitress, or
Exactly, right?
Yeah, and it's not the only show that I've had like that. I've had many of them, right?
Yeah. Well, it's very similar in comedy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Definitely. There's a lot of smaller rooms in the city where you go and do comedy, and it's like maybe 1 or 2 actual patrons and then just a bunch of other comics, which can be fun for like, you know, feeding off each other's energy or whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're like, there's not a lot of real audience here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when I played in Australia, we did the east coast of Australia, so from Sydney all the way down to Melbourne.
Okay.
And you hit these places like that I've never even heard of, like Wagga Wagga, which is like a rural town, and it's all farms. You know, so you expect to play to nobody, right? And so you just have to go with that, you know. Like, and it's the same with PI. Right?
Low expectations.
Depending on where
lower
you're
your
playing
expectations
in PI.
always, and then you're always surprised. You know?
Yeah. Then it can only be good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cool you said you were in the Peptides, actually, because it's a band that I've heard on local radio sometimes, and I know they're big in Ottawa for sure.
Yeah, three of us of the good guys are in the Peptides.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that I didn't know. Well, okay, let's do that then. Before we cast all the other good guys aside, can you guys tell me a little more about them, since they weren't able to be here? We only have so many mics. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. No worries.
I mean, the good guys is it's me, which is I'm Juan Miguel, and I play the guitar. Then it's Jason, who plays the bass. Then we have Alex, which plays the drums. And then we have Scott, which is on keyboards. And then we have Zach, which plays the saxophone.
Cool.
And me and Alex and Scott are all in a bunch of bands together, actually. Not only the good guys and the Peptides, but the first band that we started playing together was the Peptides. And since then we've played in, I don't know, like right now I think we're in another 3 bands besides the Peptides, the good guys in another 2. You know, so it's
crazy.
It's just like we just work so well together that it's I know so many more like drummers and so many more other like keyboard players and whatever. but it's just a lot easier when you just have like already like a good connection with some
Yeah,
people,
you've got
you
a
know?
groove. You're already in
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, it's cool to play with other people. That's the reason why Jason is here.
Yeah.
But you know, I kind of I found that when I was like building the band, it was easier to like have a little of a core group, I guess, that I know that I can rely on.
Comfort.
And then just like build everyone else around that. So that's why I got Alex to play with me, and then I got Jason, which was someone that I didn't play with before. And then we got Zach, that was someone again like that was outside of our.
That's a good
circle.
mix because you've got some people that you're
Yeah.
very comfortable with and a couple
Yeah.
of rogue
Yeah.
elements.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now you know there's been so many years that we played together that you know I'm completely. I would pull Jason to play in any other project at this point, right? Because
Well, that's why I think you guys, especially as things open up, are going to take the city and hopefully the country by storm because you're a bunch of really talented, established musicians. And then on top of that, you went and kind of just privately like locked this shit down and practiced and jammed for like years, it sounds like. And now you're unveiling yourself. So of course you're going to sound amazing. Like I couldn't believe when I heard it was your first show, but you know, again, it makes more sense with that context, but still, I think people are going to be blown away.
That's
thank
awesome.
you, thank you.
Yeah, man.
My
hopefully.
wife was blown away when we played in my backyard. She's like, "This is the best thing I've ever heard."
Yeah, it makes you want to
Yeah,
dance
yeah.
and everybody was feeling it.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I've told about this project to some people that I kept it a little bit in the dark because I like we were not very sure even when it was going to be released. But when it was released, I told the people about it. And then every time that I showed the music to the people, there's like they were really just not expecting that, you know. So so hopefully, actually, like when you wrote to me last night to bring something, I was not ready to bring anything, right? But,
Sorry, that's based on that.
Yeah, but the thing that we brought you is actually a copy of our new album.
Sweet.
There you go.
So,
Right
so
on.
you can actually put it wherever you want, and it has the new album inside of it.
Nice. Yeah, I'll
So,
take the CD out first.
Yeah, exactly, probably.
I wish the
And,
CD player in my car wasn't busted. But
no.
Well, but if not, we also have we're on unveiling a new website as well, and all of our music is there to listen to as
Awesome.
well. So you can I mean I can take this chance to say as well that we're releasing the album fully on the 16th of October, like which in a couple of weeks there, and the music will hopefully by then will also be like all on all the streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, all those things. So yeah, you'll be able to find it everywhere.
and did I read that you guys might be doing another outdoor show if the weather is
Yeah,
permitting?
that's the 16th.
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna just match both things: the release of the actual album and it's gonna be actually in the same location.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I'm totally coming to this.
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna come from the beginning.
Yeah,
It'll be
exactly.
kind of like a first come first serve up to 100 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because of COVID,
Yeah.
the maximum of 100 people. So yeah, if you want to bring some people, just let
Definitely.
me know.
Oh yeah. I know some
Yeah.
people who will come to this for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to listen to that.
Yeah, for sure.
I really wish I could listen to the car though, man. I'm telling you, I've had my CD player busted for a while, and there's one CD stuck in there. Every once in a while, I used to get it to like I would hit a speed bump and it would come out, and I could change it, and then I'd be stuck with that
Stuck
CD
with-
for another few months. So for like a year plus, all the pandemic, it's been one half of a best of James Brown CD. So if you're gonna have anything stuck in your CD player,
James
I'm
Brown.
okay
At
with
least,
James
at least
Brown.
that's good. Yeah.
Well, this one will keep you company for a while if you can get the James Brown out.
Or
Yeah.
I'll play it just at home, man. I'll throw it in
Yeah.
the Xbox or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's very nice music. I mean, not only because I wrote it, but or we wrote it. It's very nice music to actually do stuff. You know,
Yeah.
like jazz usually is. You know, so like if you're cooking
Or
like
exercising or something.
exercising
Yeah.
or whatever, and it does get you kind of like. I don't know. I find that some of our songs they're very funky. Some of them are super funky and super. They're even like I guess like bordering with not jazz. I find.
Okay.
But some of them are like very jazz.
Okay.
So it's like we have like the extremes. I find like it's like very like funky, rocky, or very jazzy, modern jazzy kind of thing.
That's
and
cool,
I
though.
find that they put you kind of like in a little bit of a trance. I find sometimes because they're very out there. Some of them. But they're very cool. They're an experience I find, and they're an experience to be had. So for sure,
man.
it's cool.
I'll be
Very much
curious.
looking
I'm
forward to
curious to know what you think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully
because
it's not
even
bad.
when I heard you guys live and the clips I've seen online, it's all been more of the funky side of things. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear the jazz part of it.
Yeah, hopefully on this new gig that we're gonna play on the 16th, we'll get someone to like shot something that is a little bit more jazzy. But yeah, I think if you enjoy jazz, you'll find it very entertaining. I think. Yeah.
Or funk, yeah. Both.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's awesome. I when you were talking about having so many different bands you guys are in, I wanted to ask you guys, how do you manage that? Like pre-pandemic, when things were in full swing, do you ever find that like overwhelming to try to be in 6 bands or whatever, 5 bands? You know,
I have kids.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I'm sure there's more layers you can throw on there, but
Yeah, it's not hard to manage because you can only be in one place at one time, right? So if you book a gig, you got to stick with it and be loyal, you know. But
you never had like different bands vying for your time, where it's like, well, we need you on Saturday, and they're like, sorry, I'm already, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Well, I mean, that's we have multiple bass players, you know, multiple drummers in the city that can always replace,
Yeah,
you know, me,
fill in.
you know.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it makes it doable, manageable.
I'm sure there's some people that wouldn't want themselves to be filled in for. You
Yeah.
know,
Right,
I'm a
yeah.
core member of this group.
Right,
You know,
I
that
see.
kind of
Yeah.
attitude.
Well, yeah. With in terms of like the good guys, like it's all original music, and so it would be hard to replace.
Yeah, I think
a
there's bands
member.
that make it basically impossible to replace members. Like the good guys, like we would never be able to play a show
And have someone sit
and
in.
someone sit in unless we know like 6 months in advance, you know, something like
Right.
that. And we have like a lot of rehearsal with this other person because there's so many things going on in the songs, right? It's not something that you can just like wing it,
Here's the
one day
sheet
before.
music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. No, there's so many things
I
going
guess it
on.
really does depend then on the style of band.
But if you're playing
Yeah.
covers, you
Yeah.
know, if you're playing weddings and that kind of stuff, it's very easy to just fill it in.
That's
well,
it.
a couple of your projects sounded sort of up
That's
that
it,
line,
yeah.
right? The
Jackson Miles.
Jackson Miles band and the J Marks. You guys do some covers
The
too.
J Marks was also a cover band.
More of a
we
passion
also had
project?
original. Mark Charon, the member of J Marks, he's since moved to BC, so that
bummer.
project's no longer happening. But
He's a great singer.
He's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys sounded really good together. Well, that's a bummer, but at least you
Yeah.
guys got some stuff on tape. You know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I usually throw to my dad at some point during the episode to see if he has a question for the guest. Did you come up with anything, or have you thought of something during the convo?
Actually, no. I mean, I'm really.
Back to me. No.
The only thing, the only thing I would say on this is that I myself am very much looking forward to listening to this album because my wife and I like jazz a lot.
All right.
But jazz is one of those things I find where, I mean, I guess it's with all music. There are certain types of jazz, you know, the easy listening. Then you get the really super experimental stuff where I go, is that even music? Right? I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, 100%.
yeah,
jazz.
yeah. So I'm very, very interested to hear yours, and I think my wife would really enjoy listening to it too. So
Well, you guys should come to the show then. If
For sure.
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
can
yeah.
make it out. Yeah, they're
Definitely.
retired now. They got no excuse.
that's true. I look forward to that. Yeah.
My parents will be there too.
Oh no,
Good. So I won't be the only gray head.
Yeah,
Yeah, you won't be the only geriatric
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
I think all of our parents will be there. I think that's our
right
core fan base right
Yeah.
now.
Well, it looked like a nice diversity in age and in other senses. when I showed up.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys a fun question since you've played probably a lot of shows in Ottawa. Do Ottawa concert audiences suck in the way that we get labeled as sucking? Especially compared to, you know, if you've been all over the world.
Yeah, it depends on where you play. Honestly,
Yeah.
like
Well,
you can't-
overwhelmingly then?
Yeah, I know.
And what
Ottawa
genre as well.
has a bad rap for just being a boring city. But
Sitting
no.
down during
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, no, it's it depends on where you play. Like so, as a cover band, you play. I play people's weddings, play at the bars, you know. So and that's people want to just dance. People like that's the whole atmosphere, right? It's
Yeah.
people just want to have a good time, and so when people are having a good time, I have a good time. The band has a good time, and so yeah, Ottawa's a good place to play it. And there's tons of work for musicians out here. Tons.
I think the
tons.
stereotype is more maybe with like big shows at like, I don't know what they call it now, Canadian Tire Center? Is that what it's called these days?
Canadian Tire Center.
I know they changed the name so much. I
right.
still think
you-
of it as Corel
Corel
Center.
Center, yeah.
Or Palladium was the first
Yeah.
one. Scotiabank Place.
Yeah.
They had so many.
Yeah,
Goddamn.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never played the Corel Center or the Canadian Tire Center, so I wouldn't know. But
But
I've been to
Blues
shows.
Fest, I've heard a lot
Fest,
of artists, you read things where they say like, oh yeah, the audience sucked. Or,
Oh.
maybe I'm wrong. Is that not a stereotype? That's what I've always heard.
I mean, every time that I play Blues Fest, we played, I think, like 2 or 3 times there, and every time that I play there, the audience was great. I mean, it also depended on the time of the day, right? Like, like the first show that we played there, it was the main stage, but it was like, you know, like 1 p.m. or something like that. So, you know, people are like just getting to the festival and like having drinks or whatever. And
Alcohol
it's like,
usually helps.
It does.
Exactly. So it's everyone was standing up and having a good time, but it was definitely the second time that we played there, which was in the middle of the night. A lot of people were raving definitely way more than in the day, right? But that's just the natural way of things, right?
Well, I think we're known as being like the government town too. So there's some of that.
One thing that I would say is that I do find that Ottawa shows definitely have to finish way earlier than anywhere else. Like if you want, particularly if you're playing like original music, if you're playing in a cover band, then like the Heart and Crown or whatever, like you can get away with like playing until like 2 a.m. because people are just getting super drunk and
it's inside, so it's not disturbing the peace,
and whatever, and they're not really there for you. They're really there to like dance and whatever, right? You just happen to be like an extra cool thing happening that night.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are actually playing, with your band and you're expecting people to go to your show, like you have to play early. Like not early as in like 1 p.m., but you have to like start like at 7, 8, maximum 9, and finish before 11, because it's otherwise like people just like don't go or they
that's
just
kind of
leave.
lame.
That's my experience at least with all the like original shows that I've done in the city.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer vibe if you're at like a show that's happening and then you're like, oh, sorry, it's a school night.
Yeah. I gotta work tomorrow. Or even if it's not a school night, it's like I think people here are already like kind of wired to just not stay up too late. But
It's a very Monday to Friday kind of city. I think.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean it's bad. Like after saying all that, I find I don't understand why people say that Ottawa has like a dead scene and all these things. Like obviously, if you compare it to a city like Toronto or Montreal, which has like more than twice.
That's just sheer numbers, really.
Yeah, exactly. Like obviously, yes, but I mean, for being the city that we are, I find this is amazing.
Yeah.
It works great. There's so much work, like Jason was saying. Like there's definitely a lot of music going on.
I think Ottawa's going to keep blowing up in the next 10, 20 years because we're supposed to be getting some huge sound stage that we're going to build on Hunt Club. Just the field over here, like like if you're going to Barhaven, there's those big fields.
Yeah.
I think somewhere in there is where they've proposed to build a huge soundstage for filming movies and television and stuff.
Whoa, no way, on the Greenbelt.
Yeah, I don't know. I would hope they wouldn't destroy like Greenbelt space, but there was some kind of plan. I don't know where it's at now. It probably takes years to do this.
Amazing,
kind of shit,
yeah.
Like for festivals and stuff, or what?
Well, no, it's more for like
film.
Yeah, film and television. So if you want to film like a movie, they'll build a big elaborate set inside these. I don't know. They're probably like giant.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to build anything, that's a good spot to build it.
Well, it's going to create a bunch of jobs and stuff, I'm sure too.
Yeah, amazing.
But yeah, it's same thing with comedy, like when you compare it to Montreal or Toronto, that's where a lot of the big names come from. But I think people are starting to notice there's tons of super funny people in Ottawa too, and a lot of them are doing really well. Some of them end up moving to Toronto. Anyways, I gotta, I guess, wrap it up because I don't have too many more questions for you guys. But I want to ask you guys what I've been asking everyone this season. Actually, I will say first, next week is the season finale for anyone who's still watching. So check in. It's a really cool guest, so check in for that. But I want to ask you guys, if you could have dinner with any person who is alive or dead, but you have to have never met them before, who would it be and why? Like any person.
Anyway, it doesn't have to be a musician.
No, it could be Albert Einstein. It could be, could be someone that's still alive. Anyone.
Wow.
Some people have said like relatives that they never got to meet.
I was just going to say that. I was
Yeah.
going to say my grandfather on both of my parents' side because I've never met them. They died before I was born. So
Oh, that sucks, man.
yeah, and there's a lot of history there like that goes back to China, and that I don't know about because anyways, long story. So
No, that's
we'll
super
save it for another time.
Yeah. That's a
yeah.
great answer, though. I always respect that answer, especially because if you're presenting someone with this, genie scenario where they can hang out with Jay-Z or whoever they want to hang out with really bad, you know. Well, maybe that was a weird example, but like Leonardo da Vinci, someone said, stuff like that. Like to still prefer to choose someone from your own who's not famous or whatever is admirable.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of history there that I don't know about, and so that's the only reason why I would want to meet them. And
Delving
maybe I
into
will
your
one day,
roots, yeah. And I always ask when people say those types of answers, would you be able to communicate, or would you have not been able to?
Well, I don't even know if they spoke like Chinese or Creole. You know, I don't even know that. Like it's my dad didn't even know his own dad because he died when he was 2 years old. So
I wonder if you can like trace back into that, because my mom, I only say that because she got really into genealogy and like studying our family tree, and they've gone to like Europe and visited people that are like our extended family and seen old gravestones and dig up medical records and shit. My mom is deep into that, so you never know, man. You might be able to learn more even without a magic genie question.
Right. Yeah. No, I'd like to. I've been to China, but never. I didn't go to the part where my family's from, like my roots. But I think my parents have, and they found some old, not graves, but I think
information.
Something, information like written in stone. They actually said written in stone.
That's cool.
But it wasn't a gravestone. It was something else that that
interesting
Chinese people do to keep track.
Like a tablet or something?
The genealogy, yeah.
Huh. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe one day you'll make it to Mauritius too.
Yeah. Well, I have. My last time was like 21 years ago.
Been there.
98.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
98 was the last time, and I want to go back, but it costs a lot.
That
of money.
actually makes me think something I didn't bring up. You grew up in Mexico, right?
Yes, I did.
We can, before you answer the question, if you still want to think about that in the back of your head, tell me a little bit about when you came to Canada. And
yeah, I mean, it's a story that I've told a lot of people because I get asked about it a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's my dad is from Mexico, and I guess my mom too, but she's French Canadian as well. Like her parents are where one was from France and the other one was from Quebec, right?
okay,
So they
both the Frenches.
Yeah, they were completely French, and they decided to they actually met on a vacation in Mexico. The guy from France and the girl from Quebec.
Oh, wow.
And they actually hooked up and got together, and they got married, and they had my mom, and then they decided they loved Mexico so much that they just decided to move to Mexico. So my mom like spent like most of her teenagehood and like adulthood in Mexico, where she met my dad, and so I was born in Mexico, and I was born and raised there. I lived there for like 20 years. And then, but I was always, very, very, I guess, close to my French heritage, I guess, like as my mom's family, like even though they lived in Mexico and everything was, in French. They spoke only French. Like obviously they spoke Spanish to live in Mexico, but in the family gatherings, it was always
never
everything
lost
French.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And we ate only French food and like only drank French wine, and it's all about French. So I was always like very close to that, and my mom was always very, I guess, like insistent on having our different citizenships as well, like having our Canadian citizenship and our French citizenship besides the Mexican.
That's smart.
Which was very smart. When I was a kid, I was like, this is not really important. I don't care. And now I'm like just so thankful, because like it's just like when I was 20 years old, like I finished my degree in music in Mexico, and it was great, but it's just like the situation in Mexico, particularly concerning arts, is like so much different than here, right? There's just no money and no budget, and it's just like it's very tough to make a living there out of that, and particularly even more about like audio engineering and music, and what I wanted to specialize in, which was studio stuff, like it's even harder, right? So it's specific, and there's just people don't have money to spend in this kind of things, right? So I would just finish my degree, and I was like, okay, well, I either like stay here and try to make something work, or I always kind of wanted to. I've been in Canada many times to visit my family and whatnot, but I always wanted to move here because everything was just much better. Like life was much better.
More opportunities. It sounds like for you. Yeah.
Food will always be better in Mexico. Food,
the weather,
and weather.
Yeah.
Food and weather. But other than that, like everything else was just so much better here, right?
Yeah.
And so it happened to be that my wife and I like met. I mean, that's a story for another like whole hour. But my wife and I met on an online game when we were 10.
Oh yeah.
What? Yeah, it's insane.
That definitely
But she was
needs to be explored.
yeah. That's a long story, and there's like
Can I ask what game at least?
Yeah, it was RuneScape. Do you know it?
I've heard of that vaguely.
Yeah,
I thought you were
it's-
going to say World of Warcraft or something.
No. Oh, we played a bunch of it. we play a bunch of World of Warcraft as well. But RuneScape is basically like World of Warcraft, but even older. You know,
cool.
like 2D
Okay.
animations. Like
Interesting. I'll have
super
to look
old,
into
like robotic like things. Like I'm talking about the time when like it was still like telephone internet and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So
So late 90s and stuff.
yeah, late 90s, and she was living here in Canada, and I was in Mexico, and we met through there, and we always kept touch through all these years. And when I finished my university, like I was just like, hey, I kind of want to move to Canada, and we started talking again. And she was like, oh, hey, well, why don't you come, here and we, we meet and we chat and see what's what. And when I said like, sure, I'll give it a shot. And then I came in as a tourist once for like 2 weeks, and 2 months later I was here to stay.
Wow.
So yeah, and having the Canadian citizenship like helped a lot, because it was just like literally said, okay, I'm moving to Canada. Okay, and then Canada just told me, okay, that's fine. Come on
That's
over.
crazy though. 10 years
Yeah,
old.
that's it.
And that's almost better than like, what really doesn't happen much these days is like high school sweethearts that actually stay
Yeah,
together
yeah,
and
yeah,
they stay
exactly.
married for 7 years, because people realize like, well, you might want to date a few people, find out what you're
Yeah,
looking for.
yeah.
But you have the best of both worlds, because you have the romantic, like, oh, that's so cute. They knew each other when they were
Yeah.
10. But
Yeah.
you still got to live your teenage years separate.
Yeah,
you know?
like both of us, like we got like you said, like I think it worked out great, because back when we were like 11 and 10, like I already was like in love with her as a kid. You can be in
crush,
love with her.
like,
She
yeah,
was
yeah.
like my Canadian crush, but
Yeah.
I just knew that it was not going to happen because she was in Canada. I was in
Yeah.
Mexico, right? And it was just like so much drama that happened throughout the years. Like they would try to kind of like make it work, that of me coming here or she coming to Mexico, but it just didn't work out, because we also were like experiencing different things. We were growing up and
Yeah.
like knowing other people.
Well, and
all
that's
those
a
things, right?
long,
That's a long time.
distance relationship.
Exactly. So
It's not like Toronto to Ottawa
Yeah.
or
Seriously.
something. Like,
yeah, we never really had like a long distance relationship until I was like 21, like I said. Like before that, it was more like, oh yeah, I wish we will be together and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then I met other girls,
wasn't
and she met
reasonable.
other guys and whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like we just did our thing and had other relationships and live our lives. But then I finished my university, and she was like in a point of her life where she was, like I said, like, okay, well, if you would come here, it will be cool. And I was like, okay, well, I have nothing to lose right now, so but
That's
if I'm
so
gonna
awesome.
move to Canada and
That
give it a
is- that's a
shot,
great
might as well
story.
try it. And like that was almost a little bit more than 9 years ago.
and you said you have kids too, right?
Yeah, so we got
that's a great
married
story
and
for
we have
them.
2 kids. Yeah.
Yeah, one day they'll hear that story, and
Yeah.
or maybe they already have.
Oh, probably they have, but they don't really understand it, because they're 2 and 4, right?
Okay,
so
they're
they don't
still
care
young
too
ones.
much
Yeah, yeah.
about it. But one day they will, and they'll hopefully find it very, very cute and a little nerdy, I guess. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's actually one thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about you and your daughter. In the article that I read, she was talking about how the music and playing music with you really helped her with the transition of going from one house to another after a
Yes.
separation. And I myself was separated. I'm now happily with a new. I hate saying fiance because we've been together for 8 years. That it's like
Okay.
ridiculous, but it's just a douchey word.
Fiance.
You know. But anyways, I just I thought that was really cool and really sweet that you guys were able to bond over that, and that was able to help her with that. What would obviously be a hard experience for any kid that age,
Totally.
But it sounds like you guys have a healthy working,
With
partnership.
my ex,
Yeah, exactly.
with my ex, we have an awesome relationship with her and her new boyfriend, and they
great.
actually moved like 9 doors down from us, and it's perfect. It's a great scenario. We have her over for dinner.
That's awesome.
One big family. That's where we treat it now.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to get too personal. It's just it was a lot of similarities to my life, and my ex and her husband, they have new kids.
Oh,
and
great.
We've got a young guy too, a new
Yeah.
addition to the pack. So
Yeah.
it was just cool, to
And
see.
you guys all get together.
Yeah, like they'll invite us over if it's like Halloween or
Yeah.
like New Year's or whatever,
Perfect.
And
Yeah.
we're flexible. We help each other out. You need,
Sweet.
I don't know. I talk about it on the show a lot, but I guess
Yeah.
it's something I'm proud of because
Yeah,
it's
something
not,
to be proud of, because a lot of people
Yeah, you
are
should
not
be.
in that same scenario,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I guess it wasn't so much a question as just like it was nice to see somebody else doing it that way, because I see a lot more of the opposite side where it's
Yeah.
people fighting and putting the kids in the middle of it,
Yeah, it's terrible.
Anyways.
yeah,
Your question answer before I forget.
Yeah, my question. I mean,
Dinner with
it's-
anybody.
It's so hard, right? Like, I would love to like meet so many like musicians, and and also like my like Jason said, like the father of I guess my great grandfather on my mom's side, the one that was from France, like all my grandfather's family was in the French army, so they played like from Napoleon to like World War I to World War II. So like, and they died, like one of them died in, like my great grandfather died in Napoleon's army, and my great grandfather died in World War I in Africa.
Wow.
So like they were both like captains in the army and whatever. So I think I would have loved to meet them, but at the same time, if I would just choose one person, I think I'm a huge nerd about like stuff. I like nerdy things.
Well, then you're in good.
Yeah, maybe not Star Wars as much. I'm more like a fantasy kind of guy, so I love Lord of the Rings. So I would love, I think, to meet Tolkien, the writer from Lord of the Rings.
Cool.
Oh man, that would be incredible.
That's a cool answer. Yeah, I'm not well versed in Lord of the Rings. Fantasy is one of my geek weak spots.
Okay. Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
Star Wars is not my forte. I know I like it, but it's not my forte.
I'd say I'm more into Marvel and
Marvel.
comic
I can
books
see
and
that.
stuff like
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool. But I'm a Lord of the Rings kind of guy.
And are you a Harry Potter guy too then?
I mean, I'm a Harry Potter as anyone that likes fantasy. Like I appreciate it, and I read all the books, and I read them when I was growing up, and I read them like 1,000 times, obviously. But it's just like comparing, like like I don't know, like something like that is nice to something that is just like amazing.
Oh, okay. Lord of the Rings is just
like for me, Lord of the Rings is like the Bible, basically, of fantasy.
That's fair.
Like,
that's fair.
It's like everything that we know of fantasy is like, the modern fantasy is like based on that writing, right?
Yeah.
So, and not only modern fantasy, but like shows and like movies and all these things that we appreciate in games and all these things. It's all based upon that. And he was just his mind was amazing. So I would love to talk to him for sure.
It's true. Even like Zeppelin used to make references.
Exactly,
all the time.
the music, like everything is like referred, like not everything in the world, but there's so many things that were
deep.
best. Yeah, exactly. And he had like a super interesting life as well. There's a movie about him actually.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's just called Tolkien. Yeah.
Cool.
And it's
when did that come out?
Yeah, it went a couple years ago, but it was in the movies and everything. It just didn't make a big impact because it's it was not a huge like franchise.
Not a Fast and the Furious.
Because it's not like Avengers or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was super interesting as well. Like like he had a very interesting life. So I would love to pick his brain a little.
Yeah, I'm gonna shock you. I've never seen any of the Lord of the Rings movies.
So I'm gonna be out of this podcast now. You can delete my contribution.
To be fair, yeah, I'm not. I don't do great at keeping up on watching a lot of TV or movies.
Okay.
So when I see something that has like a 3-hour runtime, it's a hard sell.
Yeah, and the Lord of the Rings are like if you see like the non-extended versions, they're like
a little more
2 hours and a half, 3 hours. If you watch the extended versions, you're sitting there for like a good chunk of time.
I think that's why I got turned off from it. Was every person who tried to say, "Oh, you should watch this," they always had like this massive DVD collection, and I was like, "I'm not ready to commit to that."
This.
So I think it would have been better if I had just watched them as they came out in the theaters and got sucked in piece by piece.
Yeah. Well, it's never too late. You can also watch them by parts, right? Like the extended versions, for example, they're so long that there's like CD1 and CD2, CD1, CD2, right? So you can watch like the CD1 and then just
soak that in.
Yeah, soak that in, live it there for a couple months, and watch the CD2 of the first movie, and then finish it, and then move to the next one or whatever.
It's probably I'm overdue. I mean, I played Dungeons and Dragons and stuff when I was a kid. I don't hate fantasy. I just never ended up watching those. I've never seen Avatar either.
Yeah. Did you watch the new Venom?
No. We just watched the first one actually because I only ever seen parts of it, and it was pretty good. It was okay.
Me and my son went to see it. It was okay.
Was it good?
It was all right.
Kind of meh.
It was meh.
That's what I thought about the first one. So I like Woody Harrelson.
But you watched all the Avengers stuff.
Yeah, like anything that's in the MCU, I've watched.
Which I mean, it's still a lot. That's what I'm saying.
Like,
it's way more than
movies or something.
It's way more than Lord of the Rings if you count all the movies.
Definitely. Oh God, yes.
So I mean,
but
it's kind of the same
but
thing.
in that instance, well, not only did I have like the nostalgic, like I grew up on that, so obviously I knew I was gonna go watch it, but I did see them as they came out one by one. So I wouldn't expect if someone said, "Oh, I don't watch those movies because I don't even know where to begin," I would say that totally makes sense. Like
there's so much of
how many hours of movie is that? It's like 30 flicks or something. It's insane.
It's so much. Like I watched all the Avengers and like the odd, like Spider-Man here and there, you
Yeah.
know, but it's just so much right now. It's too much, I find.
Even
But-
me as a huge fan, like I can understand when people are sick of it because
Yeah,
it's
too much.
kind of how many come out every movie or every year? Like
Yeah.
4 superhero movies, probably
Yeah,
at least,
yeah.
maybe more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, the good guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is podcasting, right? You can end up all over the place.
ramble. Yeah.
But yes, come to the show or
Yeah.
you book in advance. It sounds like because you guys do
Yeah.
have a
Well,
cap.
just let me know, or what I'll do is I'll share. Are you on Facebook?
Yeah, I'll be sharing all this on Facebook and
Okay.
Instagram and
Sweet,
Twitter.
sweet.
All right, sounds good. So
Where should people find the good guys? On Facebook is the main place.
Yeah,
Until
we're on
really-
Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on
YouTube now.
On YouTube now, we have a website as well, goodguysottawa.com.
Cool.
But I guess our main platform right now is Facebook. That's the one where we have the most following and the one that we've pushed the most. Like, I know that Instagram is like, you know, the big thing right now, and that's the thing that you should like push and whatnot. But I think nobody in the band is really like a social media person. Like I'm definitely not, and I just like try to push myself to, you know, market like my bands and my business and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
it's
it
a pain
really
in the
doesn't
ass.
come out like naturally for me at all
No,
because
me
I don't
neither.
enjoy social media at all.
Yeah.
So but yeah, if people want to find more about us and listen to our music and our shows and whatever, we're in all the mainstream platforms, I guess. So just look for Good Guys Ottawa and you'll find us.
Yeah, and Facebook's good because at least you can make events and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, there you
Yeah.
go. And thank you guys so much for coming and sharing all these
No.
cool stories with me. And I wish you guys the best with the band. And I'll see you at the show.
Yeah,
Right
for
on.
sure.
Thanks
Thanks
for having us, man.
Yeah, that was
well,
great.
we normally high five at the end.
Yeah. All right.
There we go.
Sweet.
Right on.
Boom. See you later.
Bye.
See you.
Don't forget what we always say here at Just Chill with Oliver George. Fuck Mike's Hard Lemonade.